Hey everyone, hi, this is Samrat, and I welcome you all to the Baseline Show in India. With me, I have Mark Haddle. He's been probably with me on every show since the time we are doing this. So, Baseline Show in India is the official office hours for the Baseline Protocol. It's a community driven open source protocol for state synchronization being developed completely open source. And the founding members are some of the big ones: Consensus, ENY, Microsoft, and as we talk, there are more sponsors joining the group. So do hop on the baseline bus, as we call it, and we do these shows every Saturday at 6 p.m. This is for inviting guests from various industries. They come here to talk about their data and system synchronization problems, and we try and find those silos which baseline protocol can potentially address. Um this baseline protocol at times is taken in conjunction with blockchain. So this is not a blockchain protocol. Here is something which today, Mark, let's use this time today. So we've had the speaker emergency. We had a fantastic speaker coming on board this week, but yesterday they had some emergency and some family member emergency, so could not make it. But we'll use this time, we'll use the spot, and we'll talk about stuff. There's a lot of stuff happening in the baseline community, and Mark and I both are positioned in a way to talk about what's going on within the baseline community. So yeah, as I was saying, this is oftentimes confused with being a blockchain protocol, especially because of it originating from the companies and the guys involved being the forefathers, so to say, of blockchain protocols. But yeah, this is truly the bridge. Sorry, Mark, you were going. Go ahead. You were
Oh no,
saying
I
something.
was actually just scratching my nose, but yeah, no, you make a very interesting point. A lot of people think of blockchain as really the main technology here, and it's not. And a lot of us have been in blockchain for the past 5 or 6 years, really, as it started to gain traction and become a lot more widespread, or at least well known. Um,
Right.
and I think with every technology, you're going to have an evolution of the ideas. As far as at first we looked at blockchain as the single source of truth, and that it was going to really displace a lot of the current architecture, so that all of the participants, everybody had the continuous updated copy of the ledger, whether it's record keeping or whether it's digital assets. Everybody, you had complete transparency and complete visibility. And at first, that sounded great, but in practice, that creates a big, a big problem, especially from a security standpoint, also from a governance standpoint. I mean, there are certain people you don't want to, necessarily know everything that's going on. And so, really, you start to look at instead of it being the dominant architecture, there are certain applications that leverage the strength of blockchain with the
Absolutely.
ability and the highly tamper resistant, um, and use that will play to its strength to where what we use in baseline protocol is we only use the blockchain as that proof of consistency. The only thing that is put on a blockchain is that proof, and that proof is then encrypted as well. And it's highly secure from a practical way, because if someone were to using brute force, provided they would have the horsepower to even be able to be successful, the only thing they would get would be the plain text of the proof, which really isn't useful. So
Yeah.
um, but right now, what this does is it allows that proof of consistency in a multi-party, operational or process environment. And um, you know instead, I'm not saying via the blockchain that my record keeping matches yours. I'm just saying that I can prove and have on the blockchain that proof that my record keeping matches yours. So
Yeah.
at the same time, you're using your existing systems of record. You're using your same process environment and business logic. Um, and what this is doing is that gives you the confidence to know that your record keeping matches that of your counterparty. And with the added advantage that you did not have to reveal anything to be able to prove that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think those were the shiny balls that people went after when we were all working on blockchain innovation projects, and then eventually we were able to analyze the potential value to be realized and sort. But I think it's all part of the game, right? So that's something which we oftentimes talk about when we are doing our go-to-market meetings. And by the way, let's welcome two more guests who just joined us. Hi Sangeet. Hi, welcome to the show. I think you're joining us for the first time. Oh, he just he just took off somewhere. And hi Mohan, thank you so much for making it. Crisis situation, and yeah, here you come. So thanks so much for making it. So yeah, Mark, back to our conversation. So we were talking about why people have been s- slightly, I would not say confusing, but mixing it up with blockchain. And yeah, we were presenting our views on what was happening with blockchain and where did it probably got derailed or got oversold.
Well, I think right now blockchain really is kind of it's a term that certainly has a lot of baggage attached to it.
Yeah.
Just because, and even from the beginning, because you had different flavors of blockchain. You had
Yeah.
private and you had public, and each had its different advantages and its own shortcomings. Neither one at the time, I think, was viable as a solution. If you
Mm.
looked at blockchain being the entire remedy for whatever problem that it is, and it's just no, you want to have it as a certain component uh, of of the problem that you're trying to improve upon. Um, and it's very common when you're presenting the idea to someone. The minute you mention the word blockchain, you go down a rabbit hole, or you've even lost there
Exactly.
because it's become a word that's become fairly hackneyed, just overused. And we remember when blockchain really started generating a lot of widespread awareness.
Yeah.
Everybody that said blockchain's going to solve world hunger and make us all taller, smarter, and there wasn't anything blockchain couldn't do. And
Yeah.
you know once that comes back down to earth, you start to realize, okay, well, what process environment are we going to be using? And one thing we found out, especially within the private permission space, is um, it really doesn't add any. We were not able to demonstrate that blockchain could outperform the current service
Mm.
environment and do so cost effectively.
Mm.
That was
Mm.
the big thing. It couldn't be, I mean, cost effectively. And then there were, you know, operational, reputational. You're having to deal with people that are, in different different organizations that still need to
Yeah.
work together. And well,
Yeah.
then it only worked if everybody joined the blockchain, and not everybody is going to line up and join the blockchain. And so, because there were legitimate concerns as far as um, security, data privacy, governance, or you just didn't want your counterparties knowing
Yeah.
thing that was going on because you could kind of figure out certain business intelligence on your counterparties just through the interactions, and that
Exactly.
wasn't viable at all. Plus, at the same time, what we were looking to displace was largely an ERP system. And if there was an organization that already had gone through a painful implementation of an ERP system, that's not
Yeah.
something they want to do again.
Yeah.
And ERPs are very expensive investments, and
And
they're
there's
not.
that, that's the technical debt they're sitting on. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, and so ERP systems aren't going anywhere. So really, where was blockchain going to fit into everything? And as a dominant portion of the architecture, that just wasn't going to be practical. And so, but at the same time, there's a lot of value that blockchain technology can bring to the table in the form of middlware. And we're
Mm.
starting to see this right now with the proliferation of DeFi, to where you and NFTs, non fungible tokens. Um, And all of that is made possible only by two things. Blockchain, of course, um, as that immutability and transparency, but also um, you've got smart contracts where you start
Mm,
automating, certain business processes, and you're starting to see these evolve even more. Um, smart contracts was just a self-executing, line of code at one point. Well, now, there is the capability that has really been realized that they can do confidential computing off-chain, and then also you're going to have dynamic data when it comes to smart contracts. Now that that's being allowed through oracles, and also as part of that grew out of smart contracts was verified randomness, to where you could prove that
interesting.
if
Interesting.
you're having a an auction, or if you're having a contest and you want to prove that there has been no stuffing of the ballot box, or
Mm,
finger scales or anything like that from people that might
mm,
be in the know, you want to have that and prove that verified randomness.
yeah,
um, that's also been so. It's really interesting to see a lot of how blockchain, as a technology, has not really stopped. It's just really evolved
true,
uh, something
true.
more appropriate. So
True. And I think you brought up some really interesting perspectives on confidential computing and verified randomness. Mohan, at this stage, I'd like to invite you in and sort of, I hope you're not driving, you can
No,
see you're in a car.
no, I'm not driving. I'm the
Oh,
passenger here.
awesome.
Hey,
Okay.
thanks. That was a great points, Mark. Actually, I'd like to hear more about randomness. Just to have more of a thought on randomness. Just to dig deeper into that because I'm curious to find out more of, for example, how we can bring baseline into elections, for example,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
before that, what I wanted to touch upon was two things that Mark brought up, which is the ERP, and one thing that Mark brought up, which is the ERP, and talk about what I think is the positioning and the challenges blockchain has, and how they should be positioned. If you look at ERP and NFTs, right? ERP is fundamentally, as Mark said, it's big challenge. Everybody's been there, done. It's like they immediately go to the big
Mm,
kahuna they had to lift with ERP, and they sort of say, if you're trying to approach the end users and the customers, sometimes it's tough. Like it's like saying, going to another analogy, it's like messaging, right? So if you went and I've been selling messaging for, was selling messaging for years,
yeah.
and when you go into a bank or whatever, they don't care. It doesn't really matter, and you talk about that, they get lost. They think it's too much. It's disruption of business. They don't understand it. The point is, it's necessary, but necessary somewhere else. So the question here is, if you have an underlying platform that you're using, like ERP or some trading floor software, and you put in the messaging underneath that, and it achieves a goal, and you can express the goal that you can achieve out of using this type of technology, then they buy into that. But again, the question is, who is your customer? Is it the platform vendor or the end user? And I think that may be where, in the blockchain, that was the problem, right? You're kind of pushing everything as though, hey, this is blockchain, you should use it. And people are kind of concerned about, start thinking about problems and what it is and what it isn't and so on. And I think NFTs do it. When you do an NFT on, you have residuals guaranteed. So whoever buys it from you, and whoever they sell it to get residuals. That's it. Everybody understands that. They don't care what you use underneath it. And so NFTs today are not pushing blockchain as they're pushing the value of blockchain. And I think that's what we need to do, is push it to
Mm.
the right audience and push, and any language that needs to trickle into the end users, it trickles in their speak. That's all I have to say.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And that's a very important notion that NFTs are just one application of blockchain. That's extremely important. I mean, people are thinking, yo, you know what, this is the end game, but we're just getting started, boss.
Well,
And yeah,
and
go ahead.
and
Sorry, I was just going to say that, there are people watching us on YouTube, and there will be people watching us in future. So I want you guys to come to our website, baseline-protocol.org, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, and smash the like button so that you keep getting our updates. And yeah, Mark, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I mean, and NFTs are really a good illustration of that evolution of blockchain to where you're only using it where it plays to its strength. Within NFTs, non-fungible tokens, you know, the problem that you would have under a non-blockchain type architecture is you don't really know that you have the one golden copy, you have the one singular representation of whatever it is you're going to try and tokenize, whether it's going to be a digital asset or a proof of ownership or something. And what that does is uses blockchain's capabilities of immutability and tamper resistant, and what what that allows, it gives you a digital asset singularity, and it gives it permanence, so that you know that you have the one and it hasn't been copied and replicated and sold multiple times. You know that there's the one true copy, and only blockchain capability can achieve that.
Mark, you're on fire today. Singularity
And permanence.
and permanence. Yeah, you're at a different level today.
Well,
So,
it
so,
and the
and,
reason
and
why,
with things like tree trunk, what John is doing, I
yeah.
think, I think, that's what brings this to life, the the singularity and permanence. So yeah, absolutely amazing stuff. And tell us a little, tell us your perspective. When you were in Eat Atlanta, so what were the discussions around permanence and
Well,
singularity?
there was really a lot of excitement around the whole concept of tokenization, to where these, you're basically giving it, you're creating a token, you're basically locking up the value in a representation that it can
Hmm.
be that can be exchanged for value. If you look at it from a banking standpoint, you can't lend off of a PDF file. You need to know that there's representation of something that um, that can be counted upon, and can then represent the physical aspect of it. When it comes to trading, when it comes to buying and exchanging, and that's really what led to NFTs, because they're starting to tokenize artwork, and they're starting to tokenize sports collectibles, which then opens up the door for fractional ownership of something, which
Yeah.
when you start to have a high value item, you can then have a fraction, part of an ownership. And you don't do that just for the utility of it, so that you can actually say you have a rare piece of, I don't know, a handbag or something. Oh, I get to use it on every third weekend. It's no, it's basically something that is going to be held, or at least maybe found, to where you can then sell your fraction for more than what you paid for it and bank the profit. And so,
Yeah. 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 No, I
and
met somebody in India who was working with a team. And they are creating scotch, and they're creating NFTs linked to bottles of scotch, and you can buy it now, and then you can claim it later. So very interesting stuff happening, and applications evolving in that area, definitely. Um, so if it all bring and let's try and bring this back to baseline. So how is baseline augmenting? And let's spend maybe a couple of minutes, and maybe 5 minutes on what's blockchain doing and what's baseline doing in the enterprise. Maybe let's just talk about that. So yes, one side is the tokenization and NFTization, of I would say, but that's one side where I'm saying there is new opportunities to be explored for the enterprises, and then there are these conventional businesses that the enterprises are involved in. So what happens to those guys, and how is blockchain and baseline in your view? I have a view, and of course we've been synchronizing on that. So so let's give, because today's show is different, so let's give out people these talking points on and convincing points. These are the points that they can sell to their management. I mean, I wish viewers of this show are empowered enough with the right placement of baseline, in their hierarchy of things. So yeah, Mark, what's your view? And
Well, I
Mohan, I'll
mean,
come to you next.
exactly. No, when it comes to the enterprise setting, you've got any even smaller, medium-sized enterprise is going to have within their IT architecture, just really a landscape of different platforms and software packages that are either incompatible or at least non-communicative with each other. Accounting is going to have their software, and that will probably also work on a payroll platform. And then logistics is going to have its dispatch, and there's going to be warehousing is going to have inventory. All of these are different, separate silos that are maintained by their own gatekeepers. And
Yeah.
if you are a administrator or someone that is really tasked with needing to, for your own reporting purposes, going to need to pull data from all the different areas and stuff, uh, you know, it can be a really slow process. And, and within the enterprise, making sure that everybody is at least on the same page and using that blockchain element as that proof that you know that you are synced up with all of your other counterparties, and you don't have to spend a lot of time having to reconcile and make sure that you have the most up to date piece of data, and um, it's really one of those things to where being able to access that in real time is actually quite compelling, and something that's really, it's simple, but it's not easy to try and achieve it. And what baseline does is it makes it a lot more easy to do it, because instead of putting an entirely different layer onto the entire problem, you're basically just tying it all together and proving it. And it almost seems so simple yet elegant that something like that could work. But I mean, really, that's how it works right now. And where
Hmm.
you start to uncover a lot more value is external. When you have external counterparties, you're going to have suppliers, and you're going to have shippers, and any other number of people outside of your organization that you don't really have any type of operational control over. And but you don't want to reveal your data, or you can't because of privacy and compliance regulations. um, you know how do you actually, you need to be synchronized. How do you achieve that? And right now it's done through messaging, but it's still a friction process, because the other person kind of goes back and forth to say, okay, well, I have this, do you have that? Yes. And then
Hmm.
they go back and forth. And if you have maybe a document or a checklist or a flow chart or something that has a lot of elements to it, that you have to
Hmm.
go back and forth until you
Absolutely.
are comfortable enough that you are close enough. So um, using baseline, you have that confidence built in that if your records are baselined with your counterparties, you know that they are on the same page. So
Hmm.
Mohan had a question.
Yeah. Um, when you if you're looking at say FedEx and
Mhm.
a company like um, Coca-Cola, right? And they're shipping no okay, FedEx and Chase Bank, and they're doing so many shipping units a day, and they basically what they do is they all the shipping agreements that they have shipping uh, 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 contracts that they kind of execute in the course of the day, they aggregate and then they want to write it up into the public blockchain to show that we have proof that we delivered all of these packages on your behalf to wherever it needed to go. It is initiated, and similarly, when it completes, they on a certain, they will have daily completions of whatever shipments are done. Right now, if that is a good way to if it's a good use case, how do you kind of prevent the gas fees from escalating because there's so much reads and writes, or writes particularly into the public blockchain, um, and so therefore it no longer is just being used selectively, but it's being used for a lot of status updates, if you will, and therefore it just tends to bloat the gas fees for every other application that's on the public blockchain.
True.
How do you deal with that issue?
Okay, well, and right now that we already have a within the protocol we work on, so it's called base ledger.
Yeah.
And what that does is through hedging and through aggregating and basically kind of massaging the batching of the techniques, you can actually keep the gas price. I mean, very very low. I mean, it's still. Ethereum right now is at $4,200. I think it is per unit of ether. Um, and I remember when it was around $79 and stuff. But
In your bags.
even with that, you are
Yeah.
still, as far as gas prices, you're not consuming a lot of gas just by putting a storing a proof on a in a block. Um, and So, yes, it is higher, but you're talking about grains of sand, and it's costing, probably 3 or 4 or more grains of sand. But when you look at it from the context of the beach or the sandbox, it's not, each individual grain is not that much. I guess what I'm trying to say is gas prices really for within a baseline application are still so small because they're not representing, a large payload that's being stored in the transaction. It's just a hash of the zero knowledge proof
Hmm.
between within a multi-party uh, environment. So there we have techniques on how to do that as far as hedging it and stuff, but gas price really has not been so far that much of a concern, just because it is a little bit more, but the costs are still considered negligible.
One,
So
because of the fact that the payload that you're putting out there is just a hash, and it's
yeah,
aggregated hash, meaning it's from the base ledger you actually accumulate and you write it, say, once a day or whatever it is, and so you don't have you don't have the frequency and you don't have the bulk.
right.
Okay.
Well, I mean, and you can. I mean, if you have something that's going to be moving back and forth, but that's going to be very few applications.
Mm.
That still probably are going to be locked in a purpose-driven process environment that someday baseline should be able to and actually baseline could. It's
Yeah.
just right now, when you have such a high throughput, proof of consistency becomes less and less important, just because um, if someone were to try and do something untoward, it would be noticed almost immediately just in the change in the process environment. If someone were to try and inject something,
Yeah. Yeah. And
un-
that's a very
unexpected.
interesting point, actually. Yeah. That you cross that threshold where that the strength of the network actually starts contributing to fairness of transactions. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. Uh, I think a great plug for Base Ledger and UBT.
absolutely.
But yeah, yeah, very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so and there's this one more and yeah, I mean there are tons of different discussions that we've been having across across industries and across um, geographies. What turns out to me is, there is there is on one side people are looking at it as an innovation, on the other side they're looking at it's solving an age-old problem of synchronization between systems. So
Yeah.
I think we are appealing to all those audience, and I just have a quick graph to show people, and that's the special segment which I just mentioned on YouTube, that the special segment for people who are watching, and of course for people who are on the show speaking. So yeah, here it goes. And Mark, especially for you.
What is this?
So I'm just going to share my screen, which is yeah. Do you see this?
Yes.
Cool. So diffusion. So I don't see the camera now. So yeah, just follow my thing. So diffusion of innovation model. Now this is something which I see. Having spent years and years on consulting work, and this is the way my mind operates when I'm seeing something new. Where in the wedge are they? So I call this the wedge, which is the starting point of any innovation up until here. So you have the innovators, you have the early adopters, you have early majority, and then there is late majority, which is just following the early majority, and the laggards who may not jump over at all. So any innovation is sort of built for the wedge, which is up until here, and and then there are the adoption, the late adopters, etc., and the laggards who may not. So no, companies never even touch this segment generally. So where we are currently with baseline is this small segment of probably 2.5% people who are innovating in this ecosystem, who are talking about it, who are listening, learning, evolving as the protocol evolves. So yeah, kudos to us, being in the call today, and of course people who are watching us on YouTube today and in future as well. If you're watching us early enough, I would still call you innovators. You're in this first 2.5% of seeing this innovation through to adoption. The next wave is going to be the early adopters, and following that will be the early majority. So the early adopters, what I have seen in the conversations I've been having with uh, with potential sponsors or with people potentially who can join the community, start join core devs, etc. They see it as, I'm part of something really innovative. I'm going to be I'm going to be going through so many new evolutions, and that's when we saw real people step up and do some absolutely fantastic things when we ran the grants program. you know so you all have seen how the grant program shaped up, and people created some really fantastic things. In fact, they are currently also working on those things. In fact, if any of you who's watching today wants to see what's happening with the grants, you can go to our GitHub and check it out for yourself. So yeah, I wanted to congratulate everybody who's participating in this. That you're innovators. Um, build something on it, and baseline protocol community needs people from all backgrounds doing all sorts of stuff. It's not only coders. We need people for go to market. Mark has been doing a fantastic job on the go to markets team as well. And we are collaborating on certain things, okay, and then there is a WhatsApp notification which just shows up. So there's tons of stuff happening in various segments. We need people who can talk about sponsorships. We need people who can create beautiful designs. Jack Waring, he's currently on YouTube. He's not here on the studio, but he's mostly in. He's been doing some videos on explainer videos, etc. So we need people from all skills to come on board to make this a big community. There is super brand names involved in this initiative, so of course this has extremely high chances of being successful and being adopted across the board. So, Mark, Mohan, do you have any thoughts on the diffusion of innovation model?
Well, I mean, it's
No,
it's
no,
it's
yeah, it's
so
evident.
I would say it's 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 similar to um, really kind of a timeline that I remember reading about, back in university and stuff, to where anytime you
Mm,
have something new, it's immediately rejected. Uh,
mm,
then it is then viciously fought by the status quo. Then it is grudgingly accepted, and then it is uh, treated as self-evident, and you have to go through those different ones. I mean, and it's aggravating because human beings are flawed creatures. I mean, very resistant. I commonly tell people, they're like, we know that our process environment is horrible and everything, but right now we're just too afraid to. I mean, we have this learned helplessness. We have this. We think this is the only thing that we've ever known, and we've achieved a certain amount of, I guess, maybe not comfort, but painless way of just enduring it and stuff. And I commonly, would say, you're preferring the known demon as opposed to the unknown angel. I mean,
absolutely.
it really is. I mean, that's,
Keeping your
uh,
door shut.
yeah. I mean, when you start to, have to, change something, people are going to
Mm,
get immediately, fearful and stuff. And I mean, you can kind of, take them by the hand and lead them gently down the path. But, even then, you still, everybody mentally is setting themselves up for failure just because they're like, this is something I don't know and I'm not comfortable with. But,
mm,
I know I need to do something, and, someday, and, that someday may never come. And, um, or, I promised myself or my team that I would do this by now, and now is now, and
mm. Oh,
it's
absolutely, absolutely. So I think we had a great chat. I hope we've been able to address a lot of people's questions, apprehensions, second thoughts about baseline, and where does it fit in into the enterprise, and why are three people coming on every Saturday and trying to evangelize something which is non-existent. So it is very much existent. It is being built up, um,
and
and yeah, but
I would say
the
one thing to point out is this isn't just three guys on a Saturday, just talking about something really kind of cute. There has been going on over 2+ years of solid work being done
yeah.
by teams in global organizations such as EY, such as Microsoft, such as Consensus, um,
Hmm.
ServiceNow, and then we are starting to have
SAP, yeah.
uh, SAP. Microsoft, of course, has
Hmm.
Dynamics, and Oracle is actually starting to pay attention to this as well. Um,
Excellent,
and
excellent.
mainly because the awareness is getting out there, and it's coming not just from us, but it's coming from the Microsofts and the EYs, and saying there is an option out there. There is a solution
Hmm.
that would not require a lot of pain to implement, and would not require a huge capital upfront investment. And really, you could put up and operate with any competent development team that you may have. I mean, two or three developers on there who could, really set it up and at least administer it. Um,
Yeah,
this is something that people need to start paying attention to. And it's always a very slow glacial, I mean, march toward trying to have the ultimate adoption. Um, those of us that are veterans of blockchain uh, are no stranger to that. So, um, and it's a big thing right now. Is a lot of us, that have been around in blockchain, is we're paying attention to the message that we're putting out. Is that we want to, definitely consider what's being heard as opposed to we're just being what we're just telling. You know, so many people say we're so wrapped up, in what we want to say because we're the true believers. We are the, the people that have really, we understand it and we're really excited about it. And, you know, some people can say, well, that's great. I don't know anything about it. Oh, you said blockchain. Now I'm thinking about something else, and now it's too complex, and I don't want to think about it. And so really that's, we're paying attention to what is being heard as opposed to just what's being told. And that's what we're doing on the go to market and the enablement teams. We don't want to make the same mistakes twice. We paid enough for that knowledge. It'd be a shame not to use it.
Absolutely. So I was just setting out the baseline song. So I was just looking up, where did I place it? We have some active chats. Let's look at those. Some issue with sound, echo. Yeah. That
Look at
happens all
that
the
back.
time. Okay, new trend, private blockchains. What's Jack saying? Private blockchains working on new privacy features. Oh, fantastic. Okay. So Jack made a very interesting comment today that there are some lean experts uh, he's spoken to, and they love what's happening in baseline. You know. Okay. Oh, so somebody says eager to hear new announcements. Fantastic. So of course the TSC elections have concluded, and I got re-elected in the TSC. And also yesterday, the TSC voted um, for me and John to become co-chairs for the next year. So thank you so much for the community support, and I really love doing what I'm doing, and of course building the community here in India, and of course APAC. I've been talking to a lot of people outside of India as well. So let's see how it goes. And yeah, but I do have one thing which is it comes with a lot of responsibility. This we have to have solid plans for the next year. And of course it means more work for me. But yeah, I'm up for the challenge, and thank you so much. And Mohan and Mark, you're with me today to celebrate this, so thanks a lot. We'll keep doing this, and with that, there's one more thing I would like to wish, since people are in India do watch this show sometimes. So I would like to wish everybody a happy Diwali. Diwali is coming up in the coming week. And because of Diwali, I was not getting any good speakers for the next week. So I thought that, you know what, we're going to give people a rest. So next Saturday, we won't be doing this. We will be doing it on the following Saturday, which is the 13th of November. And yeah, so and that show, and trust me on this, so that show is going to be huge. We're getting the global head of data and analytics from a very large company, extremely large company. So, and that guy is going to tell us real world problems and real world applications of baseline. He's excited about baseline. He's gone through most of our literature. He's seen the way it's happening, it's building up. I've sent him some videos of our shows as well, so he's probably watched some. I don't know how many, how and how long, but that's very interesting. Capturing the interest of somebody at that stage, um, and he's sitting with the biggies of the world already. So yeah, that's the announcement from my side. Thank you so much, and Jack, thanks so much for being on YouTube and still contributing to the show. So Mark, Mohan, any parting thoughts?
Keep sitting here thinking about baselining.
Absolutely, keep baselining. We should start saying this. John says this all the time. Keep baselining, right? So
Baselining.
we should start saying, yeah, keep baselining. So, and can you hear the baseline song? So now is the time for baseline song. And let me also just put up just one very important thing. There you go.
There we
To follow
go.
us on YouTube.
Smash the like button.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today.
Are we out?
I think we're up. I had set it up right now. Hang on. I will do this today.
They were closing a little bit early today. Are we out? Can't hear you at all, Samrat. We can't hear you at all.
Sorry about that. I was on mute. So I
No?
had set up a new speaker today, but seems to be some issue. Can you?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in today, and it was a great show. We had an emergency. We saved the day. Thank you so much, Mark, Mohan, for tuning in. Cheers. Have a good weekend.